Big game tonight, game 2 of the Heat Celtics in Miami. Miami up 1-0. And Al Horford, who missed game 1 because of COVID protocol, is back. It is quick. It seems quick, Rob, but there's a host of tests he had to pass, and, they've expedited it a little bit to enable guys to get back quickly if they keep testing negative, and he did that. And then Marcus Smart, who has a sprained foot, but will play. I assume he'll be able to be effective, but we'll see. But do you think, and it's obviously not a literal must win, but do you think it's essentially a must win for Boston tonight?
No, not in the NBA. We just saw it with Dallas. They were down 0-2, lost 2 games on the road, right? It's not impossible, Chris, because, and I know it's cliche, but I'm not even going to mention it about, series doesn't start. But if Miami were to win,
we were saying, like, some series never start.
Yeah, you know what I mean. Like, Miami wins the first 2 games at home. Is that like the end of the world? No, it's not. Sure, if you're Boston, you're trying to steal one, right?
Right.
We saw Milwaukee steal one late in the series. What was it, Game 5 in Boston, and Boston went to Milwaukee and won Game 6, right?
Yep.
So it's not the end of the world yet. Sure, does Boston want to split and would love to get a win and go back to Boston with a chance to win the next 2? Sure, but it ain't the end of the world.
Yeah, I think a lot of times we as media and even fans, we look at it like if they go down 0-2, okay, wow, they've got to win 4 of the next 5, right? That makes it seem like, wow, can you do that?
But that's not the way you can look at it, right?
As a player, especially if you feel like you're the better team, which I'm sure Boston does, you're looking at it like, look, they still got to beat us 2 more times. Right. We're better than this team, and, we know it when we're on the court with them. So they're just looking at it a game at a time and not, getting caught up in 4 out of 5 and things like that. But I'm with you. Like you said, it certainly puts them in a comfort zone if they win the night. And, Rob, if they do win the night, Boston, they're going to be saying, look, we've outplayed this team, right? It's tied 1-1, but for the third quarter of game 1, we could be up 2-0. And we've got home court advantage now. So not a must win, but a big game. I want to see how Horford and Smart have an impact because, Rob, one of the things Butler did, he scored 41. He was great, Jimmy Butler. But he was hunting Peyton Pritchard, and that's the little guy. He could shoot it. He had, I think, 18 points, but he gave up a ton of points as well as they were just.
But that's what he should. That's what Jimmy Butler should do. You know what I mean, Chris? Like that. Until they stop me, why would I go away from him?
Right. No doubt about it. No doubt about it. Speaking of stopping, last night you had Dallas at Golden State. Yeah, Golden State wins going away. Go ahead.
Yeah, I thought it would be a closer game.
Really?
Yeah, that it was that ugly.
I mean, within 5.
Yeah, I went to 5.5. I thought it would be closer. I even told you Golden State would win, but I thought that it would be like a 3-point game, and they would cover. But no, Luka was bad, and Dallas was bad, and because I don't even think Golden State was that great, Chris. They played well.
Am I
right? I don't think they were great.
Yeah, they shot like 34%, I believe, from 3, which is not good for them. They actually, as bad as Dallas shot from 3, now they took a ton. They shot a lower percentage, 24 or something like that. But they made more threes than Golden State. That shows you, Rob, how bad Golden State was from 3. And Golden State even missed a bunch of free throws. Steph missed 3. He's the best free throw shooter in the league. He missed 3.
Yeah.
And so you're right. They did certain things well. But it wasn't their A game, that's for sure.
No, it really wasn't. And Dallas, the same with Dallas. Chris, when you get to the playoffs, it doesn't matter what the score is. How many lopsided scores have we seen in series and then teams still go on to win? Like they got beat by 30. We saw that last year with Milwaukee in Game 2 in Brooklyn. They got run out the gym. You remember they lost by 35.
Were they down by 40 something?
Yep, at some point. It was a joke, if you remember. It was like, what is this? Then they won a close game in Game 3. close game that Brooklyn had at the end, and Milwaukee scored late and pulled that one out, and then the whole series turned around.
Yep, and came back to win 4 or 5, like we've said. And, of course, one of the famous ones, Rob, going way back, was the Memorial Day Massacre with the Showtime Lakers going to Boston, 1985, and they get pummeled by 34 points in game 1. And everybody thinks, oh, it's over there. And remember, Rob, that was coming off of this previous finals when Boston and L.A. met, and Magic melted down, and they were calling him Tragic Johnson. So you can imagine, Rob, after game 1 of 1985, everyone had to be saying, oh, my God, Magic Johnson, my goodness. Like, and they were critical of Magic. And you had to think that the Lakers were not in a good place mentally. They win the next 2, Rob, and then win the series in 6 games. So to your point, it doesn't translate. Momentum is obviously big within a game. But within a series, it just seems like, Rob, it's not there. This Golden State team, remember they just, last week were down 55?
Yep.
To Memphis?
55 without Ja, right?
Right. And then and had been outplayed by Memphis the game before without Ja, even though they came back and stole it.
And pulled it out and stole that game at the end, but they easily could have lost that game.
Yep. And then they win the next game pretty comfortably in the fourth quarter. So you're right. It doesn't translate from game to game. But let me ask you this. Do you think you seem a bit stunned by what happened last night, especially considering Golden State didn't play lights out? Do you think the Mavericks fans should be discouraged?
No. And you know what? I should have thought of this, Chris, and I really didn't. Game 7, they knocked down every shot. They played great. Right. You know, it's a law of averages. It didn't balance out. You know what happens a lot of times during games? First half, you shoot lights out, and in the second half, you don't. And it balances out. They played a beautiful Game 7, knocked down a lot of shots, and then they couldn't make a basket. You know what I mean? And I should have thought about how great they played in that Game 7. The chances of them playing another one, you know what I mean, and that caliber.
Well, they're only a couple days removed, too.
Right. And I'm not saying that they were going to be exactly like they were in Game 7, but I should have thought there could have been a lull there, that it wouldn't be as good. But we'll see. Game 2 is all that matters, and if they can steal, the goal going to San Francisco is what? Steal a game.
Get one, right.
Just get one.
Look, nobody is going to completely write Dallas off. After what they did to Phoenix, Phoenix is up 2-0, blows them out 3 times at home, and has home court advantage, has the experienced point guard in Chris Paul, had the best record, all that they had going for them, and we saw what happened in Game 7. And then Luka Doncic, his greatness. You're not going to write them off. Now, I'm picking Golden State. I picked them in 6. But, Rob, I think that Golden State showed Dallas there's levels to this. And they're on a different level. Like Phoenix, as good as they were in the regular season, they didn't have the experience, Rob, that Golden State has. Golden State has stared down LeBron James. They're not going to be afraid of Luka Doncic. And I thought, Rob, at a point late in that series with Phoenix, I thought that the Suns were a bit intimidated by Luka. Like Luka kept coming for him. They threw everything at him and he wouldn't go away. And of course, in that Game 7, they just didn't show up. And that's not going to happen to Golden State, Rob. We talked about it. They came back from 3-1 down to Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook. There's no situation they're going to see that's going to kind of rock them. And I thought they've got that going for them, Rob. Defensively, they threw a bunch of different looks at Luka. He's going to get his. He's too good. He's not going to struggle the whole series. I think he's going to play well enough to get them a couple games. But I don't think, Rob, he's dominated every playoff series he's been in. And I include the ones with the Clippers where they lost. because he was tremendous. And last night was one of the few poor games, maybe one of the 2 or 3 poor games he's had in the playoffs. But I think that Golden State had a lot to do with it. The boxing one, the zone defense, the throwing Andrew Wiggins, picking him up full court. They kind of kept Luka from going right, let him go left, forced him left. And so I just think that and then offensively, Rob, their player movement. Luka's going to have to guard on the other end. And I could see him getting worn down as the series goes on.
Let me ask you this. Okay. Is this a formula, Chris? Are we watching some sort of formula, or is it one game is too early to really take a look? Because, once somebody finds out a blueprint and they slow them down, and is this something that we haven't seen? I'm asking you. Or is it just one game? We got to wait and see what kind of adjustments Jason Kidd makes and what Luka makes. And then if he goes off in game 2, then they don't have a formula. If he struggles, maybe they have something.
Well, I think, number one, you bring up a good point in that formula, because if we look at some of the great scorers of all time, Rob, Jordan, the formula was the Jordan rules, right? That's what Detroit came up with. Beat him up, right? LeBron, the formula was keep him out of the paint early in his career and make him shoot jumpers, right? That's why San Antonio made him look bad in the 2007 finals. So you're right. Teams come up with formulas, and sometimes it can stop a player. I don't think they did. First of all, I don't think every team has the personnel to do
be able to pull it off.
Did.
Right.
Yeah. Secondly, I do think he's skilled enough where, like I said, I think he's going to get his. I think he's going to have good games, but I don't think he's going to dominate it. Even Giannis, we saw Boston may have had a formula for him, for Kevin Durant. But no, I don't think like this is the beginning of people figuring out Luka Doncic. But I just think Golden State is a tough. Rob, everybody always talks about the shooting, but they were depending on the metric you look at, they were either the first or second best defensive team in the league this year.
This year, really?
Yeah.
That surprises me. Yeah.
And that's with Draymond missing basically half of the season.
Right. That's why I'm shocked by that.
Yeah, so they're a good defensive team defense. And then, of course, they got the 4 scorers, Poole, Steph, Clay, and even Andrew Wiggins. So I think it's going to be an uphill battle for Dallas, but I think they'll make it a series.